How's it going, guys? It's Pride here, back with part 11 of What If the Earthlings Were Strong. In the last episode, we left off with the Gamma Twins going into overdrive in order to attack Gohan. However, Krillin, Trunks, and Goten intercepted them in order to give Gohan the time that he needs in order to save the day. This is the point of no return, as both sides will fight with everything that they have to determine whose version of justice shall prevail. Starting off with Krillin, he's gotten in the way of Gamma 2 and using Gamma 2's own momentum while Krillin is in his flow state and to the highest level of Kaioken that he can go while maintaining his concentration. He's able to grab onto Gamma 2 and launch him in the other direction. Then, using continuous instant transmission, Krillin then proceeds to knock him back further and further to the point where Gamma 2 realistically can't get back to Gohan and thus cannot get to Dr. Hato. This enrages Gamma 2 even further. He's had a very bad day and everything that he was built for is crumbling down around him. Not only can he not get rid of the villains, but he can't even protect his own creator. With this in mind, he is flown into a rage and proceeds to come at Krillin with killing intent. As they fight, Krillin is having to use a lot of techniques in order to keep up with Gamma 2. Now that Gamma 2 is in overdrive mode, his power is at a whole nother level. This is Gamma 2's last resort after all, so of course he would be very powerful, but Krillin wasn't expecting him to be this much more powerful. Even in a flow state and even utilizing Kaioken in conjunction with that, Krillin is more of a punching bag at this point, as even when he's diverting and dodging attacks, just being grazed and being in contact with any of Gamma 2's blows, injuring Krillin more and more, to the point where mid-fight Krillin has to fix a couple of broken bones. But this only pushes Krillin to try harder and to not give up and to focus purely on skill, knowing that he cannot beat Gamma 2 in a contest of power, even slightly. Krillin starts to decrease his Kaioken. He's getting slower, he's getting weaker, but Krillin's focus is becoming even more heightened. He's able to make even better plays and more optimal moves with every exchange. It gets to the point where he is bloody and he looks beaten beyond all belief. He doesn't even have Kaioken going anymore, as he is focusing all of his power onto healing and fighting Gamma 2. Gamma 2 noticing that Krillin has slowed down and has gotten severely weaker, but yet Krillin is somehow still in the fight and is somehow still dodging all of the critical blows that should one-shot Krillin. Every punch and kick that Gamma 2 is unleashing upon Krillin, instead of instantly killing him, Krillin moves in such a way where it only injures him severely, but he's still able to fight, and that gives him enough time to heal the wound to a point where he can keep on going for even longer, which only enrages Gamma 2 even more and makes him even more predictable, which helps Krillin at the end of the day, as Krillin is using his flow state to understand the right moment to dodge and to counterattack. Even though Krillin's punches aren't doing the most damage, it still becomes significant, and Gamma 2 can't heal his injury. Gamma 2 is starting to realize that he's in a very bad predicament, as not only is he slowly getting injured and it's accumulating, and he can't heal these injuries like Krillin is during every exchange, but Gamma 2's core is slowly beginning to crack, as he's been in overdrive mode too long, to the point where there is almost no return. Truly a 50-50 chance, even if he stops now, that he'll survive. It's at this point that Gamma 2 charges towards Krillin, and Krillin is getting ready to counterattack, time it perfectly to go right under Gamma 2, but just before they connect, Gamma 2 summons up a barrier and supercharges it, as basically a ball of unstable energy collides with Krillin, with him having no recourse to attack Gamma 2. This sends Krillin flying to the ground, but Krillin instinctively and instantly activated Kaioken times 50, which helped him brunt off most of the damage, though in the process he broke both his arms trying to push away this ball of energy that Gamma 2 has become. Krillin is now on the ground and his arms are completely useless, and Gamma 2 looks like he's about to charge once again, seeing that Krillin has not been finished with that one devastating attack. Krillin is looking up, knowing that he does not have enough time to heal his arm. Krillin's situation appears to be dire. Going over to the boys, Gamma 1 has been fighting off clones upon clone of Goten and Trunks in Super Saiyan 3, and all of them in the max power variation. Though Goten is not as good as Trunks, he can still access that form, which is helping out greatly in keeping Gamma 1 away. Gamma 1 does seem to be stronger than Gamma 2, and Gamma 1 being in overdrive is almost easily still destroying all of these clones. But clones are just a distraction, as Goten and Trunks are utilizing the fusion dance. Gamma 1 does see this, and he does have information about the fusion dance. His data indicates that with that dance they'll become a completely different being, that powers could be unrivaled. So Gamma 1 attempts to stop this dance, but the boys have perfected this dance completely, and because their spirit control is on an insane higher level, they're able to instant transmission and zap between the clones that they are creating at the same time during every step of the dance, making Game & 1 miss them time and time again. He is not able to stop the fusion dance. Gotenks arrives and his aura seems to be on fire as he is in Super Saiyan 3, but he seems different than when Goten and Trunks were in Super Saiyan 3. His aura is immense and seems to be radiating heat. Gotenks looks at Game & 1 and says, "Oh yeah, now we got a show. It's time to show the world what it's like when we're serious." And in the next moment, Gotenks is right in front of Game & 1 with wind surging around his fist and lightning gathering around it as he hits Gamma 2 with a Cyclone Thunder Punch, knocking Gamma 1 leagues away. Gamma 1 is injured, but not terribly so, as Gamma 1 focuses in on his opponent. Gotenks tries to teleport behind Gamma 1 and hit him with a surprise attack to the head, but Gamma 1 dodges that and counterattack, bringing out his pistol and point blank shooting it, knocking Gotenks away and actually injuring Gotenks severely. Gotenks is like, "Okay, stronger than I thought. Wow, what is that stuff made out of?" Gamma 1 has no time for banter as he goes in on the offensive and Gotenks retaliates. The fight between the two is fierce. Gotenks does seem to be roughly stronger, but while Gamma 2 is overcharged like this, his energy is only growing more and more, and in his unlimited states, he's able to pull off even more high-powered attack. However, Gotenks has nothing but surprises for him. Everything that Gamma 1 knows about Trunks and Goten is almost rendered useless to this new being, and this is shown throughout the battle as at one point, while they're exchanging blows, it seems like Gamma 1 had the upper hand and tries to unleash a finishing move on Gotenks. However, when Gotenks gets shot in the head, he actually smiles as he explodes, and Gamma 1 barely has enough time to put up a barrier to stop the explosion. That was so devastating that it broke the barrier immediately. As the barrier breaks, Gamma 1 realizes that he is now open for an attack and immediately gets into a defensive position, not knowing where the attack might come from. However, after a moment, he realized that there is no attack coming his way, as Gotenks is laughing off in the distance. "Well, that was just a small piece of what we can do. Don't worry, I'm not going to rush this. After all, it's not every day I get to come out and have some fun." Gamma 1 clearly enraged by this, but at the same time he knows that he's on a timer. He doesn't have the luxury that Gotenks has at the moment, as his core is also beginning to crack. At the same time, back at the Red Ribbon's headquarters, Gohan is right in front of the gigantic tank that is holding Cell Max. But in front of that tank, and in the way of Gohan, is Magenta and Dr. Hato. Dr. Hato is rather nonchalant about the situation that he finds himself in, being used as a hostage, but Gohan doesn't really have time to worry about this, as his main priority is getting rid of Cell Max immediately before Cell Max can become an issue. He doesn't want to repeat history and let things get out of hand before he can quickly resolve it. So Gohan raises his hand towards Cell Max and begins charging his ki, but Magenta is yelling at Gohan, telling him to stop or else he'll shoot. Again, Dr. Hato doesn't seem to be concerned about that threat. Gohan lowers his hand towards Magenta and tells a matter-of-fact like that he doesn't have time. And in the next moment, Gohan teleports behind Magenta, one hand still facing forward, but the other hand reaching back to grab Magenta and encasing Magenta in a makeshift barrier. That way it separates him from Dr. Hato. Once that is done, the beam that Gohan was charging in his hand shoots forward and hits the tank that is holding Cell Max. However, as the dust settles, nothing seems to have happened. It seems that whatever the tank is made out of is just as durable, if not more so, than the Gammas. Upon this realization, Gohan decides to stop playing games and use his full power, unleashing his potential, and he starts charging up a Kamehameha. Dr. Hato for the first time starts to speak, but instead of begging Gohan to stop, instead of yelling for his androids that are a little too far away, instead what comes out of Dr. Hato's mouth is a countdown as he says 3, 2, 1. Cell Max's red eye starts to glow, almost as if he is just awoken. Then the rest of his body starts to move as he is slowly gaining consciousness. Gohan senses this immediately. In fact, now that Cell Max is actually awake, Gohan can sense his energy, and it is immense, more than anything that Gohan has sensed ever. Then suddenly, Cell Max easily breaks through the glass and swings his massive arm at Gohan while he's still charging up his fist. Gohan, shocked by this, turns back to look at the two behind him, thinking that they're in danger, but he only sees Magenta there. Somehow, Dr. Hato has left, while Magenta is sporting a happy smile, only for that happiness to turn to fright as he realizes the fist is also coming towards him. Gohan thinks fast. The fist is large and powerful, but it is slow. As Gohan teleports him and Magenta out of range, drops Magenta off at the edge of the base. Once they have landed there, Gohan tells Magenta to stay put. Gohan fears that he might not be able to contain Cell Max. Magenta exclaims that Gohan, Goku, and all the other Z Warriors will soon face their end. to Cell Max. However, Gohan looks back towards the scene of Cell Max breaking through his containment, being free and rising up to his full height, and is shocked that Cell Max isn't really going onto a rampage, more like he is searching and scanning the area, not really like a mindless beast would. But Gohan has a bad feeling as he says to Magenta, "You better hope we win for all of our sakes." And he teleports in front of Cell Max. They lock eyes, and then a hint of recognition hits Cell Max's eyes as he says, "Gohan." Back over to Krillin. Krillin is facing what could be independent Duke, as Gamma 2 seems to be diving in, basically making himself a bomb. The obvious intention of impacting and crushing Krillin under all the insane power that Gamma 2 has been able to produce. Krillin is looking up at the scene. His arms are broken. He can barely even stand, and there are a multitude of emotions flying through his head at this very moment. Pridefulness that he was able to get this far against such a powerful opponent. Sadness that this might just be his end. Regret that Gamma 2 is the one to do it to him. Then how Krillin actually didn't hate Gamma 2. In fact, Gamma 2 seemed like a pretty swell guy. He reminds him of a lot of Android 16, someone that was just programmed wrong, but is actually kind at heart. But on the thought of Android 16, thanks to his own wife, Android 18, then to his own daughter, and he realized to himself that he cannot go out like this. Even if he could be wished back by the Dragon Balls, he doesn't want to miss even a single day away from his family. And this thought alone fills Krillin with determination, the will to keep going, even though he has pretty much nothing left. He's exhausted beyond all belief, yet he cannot back down. He cannot give up. He has to at least keep fighting. So with the last bit of energy that he has, he starts to heal his right arm, making it so that way he can actually clench his fist as he concentrates on Gamma's 2 rapid descent towards him, being faced with someone that has overbeaten his technique with pure devastating power. Power that Krillin wished he had. Power that he knows that Kaioken simply can't give him at this moment, as he's already exhausted that. Krillin digs deep as power suffuses his arm, putting his faith, everything behind it. If the flow state was the peak of what a mortal could be able to do, then he will have to go beyond that. He'll have to go past mortal. He'll have to transcend and enter the leagues of the gods if he has to. He'll do whatever it takes in order to see his family again and have another happy day with them. Blue aura suffuses him and flows throughout his body, centering around his fist. He concentrates. His mind reaches Zen as he removes all doubt, not afraid of Gamma 2 coming faster and faster toward him. In the next moment, Gamma 2 will be upon him. Krillin won't wait for that moment as he pushes off the ground and goes towards Gamma 2 himself, getting ready to meet Gamma 2 head on. Krillin doesn't know what's about to happen, doesn't care about the consequences or the outcomes. He knows he just got to beat Gamma 2. The only thing that matters right now is victory. In a moment and a half before they impact each other, out of nowhere, Chaozu teleports right in front of Gamma 2, somehow bypassing his barrier. That's not the only bizarre thing. Chaozu also looks slightly different. He has a talisman on his face and a talisman in his hand. Chaozu yells out, "Don't forget about me!" He lifts the talisman in his hand, screams out Kaioken times 10. Instead of Chaozu glowing red, it's the talisman itself, as all the energy is diverted and focused on the talisman instead of Chaozu's own body. Seems like this method is Chaozu's way of bypassing his limitation when it comes to Kaioken. Instead of forcing it on himself, he focuses the energy on different objects. Chaozu quickly places the talisman on Gamma 2's head as Chaozu screams out, "Sleep!" This, of course, doesn't make Gamma 2 fall asleep instantly. The power difference is still too large. However, Gamma 2's barrier does fluctuate and he does lose a lot of energy, as it seems like his energy has been zapped away from him. He's no longer in the critical form of hyperdrive, and then Chaozu teleports away, giving Krillin the opening that he needs. Krillin was going in for a punch, no idea if this punch was going to work or not, or if it was just a fool's errand, but not missing this opportunity as he goes with the flow. Instead of punching, he opens his hand and unleashes a Destructo Disc, and then quickly splits that Destructo Disc into 4 different pieces as he sends it forth, as the same blue energy that Krillin called forth suffuses those Destructo Discs and hits Gamma 2's barrier. And thanks to what Chaozu did, it is just enough to bypass Gamma 2's barrier, cuts off all 4 of Gamma 2's limbs, with the shock of his barrier being surpassed and his limbs therefore being cut. And finally, Chaozu's talisman still radiating energy on Gamma 2's head. Everything is just too much for him as he actually falls unconscious. Krillin catch Gamma 2's body and is thinking to himself that he's just a misguided kid that truly doesn't know any better. Hopefully they can give him a second chance. But he also looks over at Chaozu, and his face makes it very apparent at how shocked he is to see Chaozu and to see how far Chaozu has come in his progress. Chaozu being pretty smug, he says this isn't even half of what he can do. But then it is at that moment that they sense the powerful energy of Cell Max. Krillin knows that he's out of the fight And Chaozu also knows that even with the boast that he just said, he really can't put a dent into that monstrous energy. They both look over in the direction of Cell Max and hope that Gohan can pull it through. Back over with Gotenks and Gamma 1, where it seems like they're pretty much equals. This is almost a back and forth in their abilities to outdo each other. Gamma 1's always breaking down Gotenks' techniques and moves and never really being surprised more than once, even with the ridiculous moves that Gotenks sometimes pull forth, like the Kamikaze clones or Galactic Donut. However, in the same vein, Gotenks seems to have an endless assortment of abilities. In every move that he does, it seems that he's just trying something else new, not truly to win, but just to test it out in actual combat. If Gamma 1 didn't know any better, it seemed that Gotenks wasn't taking this fight that seriously as he proclaimed that he would be. However, Gamma 1 has to put this to an end. His core is cracking too much. Dr. Hado is still nowhere in sight. Not at times has gotten this dire. Gamma 1 runs some calculations in his head, see if defeating Gotenks right here, right now, will give him just enough time to help out Dr. Hado, and hopefully have Cell Max reign free and uninterrupted if he can also take out Gohan. Once the calculations are done, the only way it's possible for Gamma 1 to pull this off is if he uses his secret move, something that even Gamma 2 doesn't know about, or even has access to, and that is his super hyper overdrive mode. Something that Dr. Hado made up just for Gamma 1 as a last ditch effort, as a hero always should have. The ability to let him summon up monstrous power in order to vanquish any enemy, but it comes with dire consequences, one of which being the loss of Gamma 1. This in mind, and this being the only option, he doesn't think twice about it as he activates this move, making every second count, as he immediately skyrockets into power yet again, shocking even Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks as they clash again. But this time, Gotenks is not only on the back foot, but he is losing severely. Before Gotenks can say anything witty or back away or create a diversion or even make a spirit clone to substitute himself with, Gamma 1 punches a hole through Gotenks' body. Then there's a moment of stillness. Gotenks says, some hero. And he de-transforms, going back into base form as Gotenks. But yet he doesn't defuse, which is weird, as Gamma 1, even in his rage and his overdrive mode, is caught off guard by this small detail. He already calculated his next move and triangulated where the fusions will split off and he will get both of them too. But yet that doesn't happen. Only thing that happens is Gotenks grips the arm that is running through his body, just chuckles, says, well, I guess there's still time like the present to really dig deep. I was actually hoping to show this for Cell Max and let Gohan watch from the back line. What a party pooper. Then Gotenks unleashes a primal yell as energy suffuses him and shakes the entire planet. The energy is so much that even in Gamma 1's super hyper overdrive mode, he is pushed back and away from Gotenks' body. He's confused for a moment, but instead of letting this transformation go on, he decides to try to rush in and pushes past this tremendous amount of energy. But that is when a second pulse comes out, even larger than before, as the hole in Gotenks' chest heals, seemingly as if it was never there. Gotenks' hair changes rapidly, and instead of growing out and long into a golden form like Super Saiyan 3, it actually just grows out a little bit more wild, but maintains their natural hair color, and also fur begins to grow along their upper body, and a tail sprouts out from behind them. With the transformation done, Gotenks looks at Gamma 1 and is like, what round is it again? I guess it doesn't matter. It's your last one. And before Gamma 1 can even react, he feels a punch hit him right in the stomach, and the air behind Gamma 1 shudders and actually begins to crack a little bit with just the amount of force behind that punch. Don't worry, buddy. I'm not trying to kill you. After all, you have some sweet moves. How about this? Once you wake up, you still want to take over the world? Well, then I guess that's it. But hopefully, this nap will have you change your mind. Before Gamma 1 can even muster the strength to lift his arm, he is hit by a barrage of blows, but he can't see any of them. All he sees is the smug grin on Gotenks and his new unheard of transformation. It even looks like Gotenks is just standing there. But Gamma 1 is being suffused in a rain of unending pain. And then one last hit, this one that Gamma 1 can actually see, as he hears Gotenks say, and 1000. As Gamma 1 gets hit one last time, this one finally bringing an end to the pain as darkness welcomes him. Gotenks catches him, then he's like, I wanted to help Gohan out. Looks like we gotta train this form a little bit more to stay in it longer. As Gotenks defuses into Goten and Trunks, each one on either side of Gamma 1 propping him up as they begin to float down to the ground, looking over where Cell Max has begun to rise. Back over with Gohan, Cell Max seems to have recognized Gohan and has actually spoken word. This doesn't even worry Gohan. He looks straight ahead at Cell Max, determination on his face, As Gohan says, last time, Cell, I got cocky and I ended up causing a lot of people a lot of pain. This time, I won't make the same mistake. Oh, and don't think your new look frightens me. All I want to do is end this. Here I am, at full power. As Gohan goes Kaioken times 200, a sea of red suffuses the air, immediately thwarting Cell Max's power. And in the first few moments of Cell Max's life, there's been confusion and then fear. This new level of speed, on top of being in his ultimate form, moves faster than what anyone else can even hope to see. Even Cell Max only caught glimpses of his final moments being alive. As Gohan uses his spirit control to turn gigantic, chucks Cell Max into the air, then unleashes a fully charged Kamehameha towards Cell Max. This Kamehameha, in gigantic form, seems to take up the entire sky in the form of red and blue. Gohan was true to his word this day, as he did not hold back. Not even for a minuscule of a second did he go easy. He didn't even give Cell Max the time it took to put up a proper guard against this devastating attack, for there was no traces left, as even the world itself seemed to have gone quiet for a solid minute or two after this attack. Then Gohan turns off Kaioken, looking only a little tired. D transforms and looks around. And it's like, well, I think Dad would be pretty proud. In fact, I don't even think he can beat me now. And after thinking whether or not he can beat Goku, he thinks about Piccolo and just genuinely wonders if he's doing alright. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to end it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a lot different than what you expect from Gohan, but do know that this is not the last time that Gohan is seen during this series. And yes, I do plan on having Beast for a more challenging opponent, but that's a tale for the future. As next up, we're going to be looking at Piccolo and his time on New Namek, and how things are going over there. I think it's going to be a good one. Hope you guys are looking forward to it. I know I am. Don't forget to subscribe and like, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys later.